Okay. All right, let's hit it. All right, all right. What is going on, everybody? It is Friday, so you already know it is time for conversations with Rashon. For everybody who's watching, thank you for watching. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button, the notification button for the next time we're on. Comment and share with a friend. Today, I am excited, speaking of friend, to be here with one of my greatest ones, Brandon Washington. What's up, bro?
Sound like a villain. How we doing today?
Hey, I love the shirt. I love the
Thank
shirt.
you. Thank you. You know what I mean? From the streets. Everything I learned, I know from the streets.
That's right. That's right. Let them know. So, all right, guys, today our discussion is going to be around small business, entrepreneurship, and just business growth as a whole. But first, before we dig deep into the conversation, Brandon, tell the people who you are.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brandon Washington. I'm currently an educator. I teach graphic arts and woodworking for at the high school level, and then I teach entrepreneurship, tech, and business at the collegiate level at LaSalle University. But you know, before that, I was an aspiring entrepreneur. After getting laid off in maybe like 2012, I decided to pursue a graphic design business. But even before that, I was an entrepreneur at heart, growing up in my father's rib business, or rather a restaurant business. But he was more than just a restaurant owner. He was an entrepreneur at the core. You know, my dad's aspirations really focused on real estate. You know, and we can't. His grandfather owned a bunch of real estate, so I think that's why he got the idea. And that was always kind of his goal was to accumulate, you know, a lot of real estate, and he was going to put his restaurants within the real estate, you know, kind of like the McDonald's model, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But unfortunately, his heart gave out in 2002, and he's no longer with us. And he left kind of his brand and
Like
a
it's
couple of his properties, along with his legacy, in the lap of me and my brother. And you know, since then, I've had aspirations to continue that legacy, and I've gone through a lot of like hurdles to get there, and I'm finally at a place where, you know, I can continue the brand in some capacity, and I'm able to benefit from the real estate that my father left me. But it definitely wasn't always the case, and I'm sure you've witnessed the growth since our collegiate days.
Yes, definitely, definitely. So, to our viewers out there, Brandon Washington is a friend, my frat brother, and we also went to the same school, LaSalle University, graduated the same year. We're the same age, right? So, we knew I knew off the bat, what a gift he had, and he did as well. And one of the main reasons why I asked Brandon to come on is because, especially during this time in 2020, you may be a business owner, aspiring business owner, entrepreneur, a struggling business owner. There's so much going on. There's so much happening. There's so many barriers. There's so many things that may be, put in your way, a wall that you may have to burst through. And I had the pleasure, or not pleasure. I like to say pleasure because I love seeing people's growth. But I had the pleasure since 2006. We're talking about 14 years of watching Brandon build and grow and knock through those walls, and sometimes struggle and have to pivot, not stop, not give up, but pivot through so that way he can figure out another way. And what I love about you, Brandon, is your creativity and your grit and your will to continue to move, right? Everything that you do, you want to do to help the community. So, you have a real estate company that you have to move forward in the legacy of your father, as well as his legacy, Ron's Ribs. So talk a little bit about Ron's Ribs and your aspirations of getting that legacy back off the ground, which something that is a staple of Philadelphia history, especially on South Street.
Right. So, you know, just to give you the audience a little background about Ron's Ribs. Ron's Ribs started in 1984 And in fact, my dad was taking over a legacy that existed while he was a child, right? He grew up in the building next door in the with the previous owner, BB. It's like BB's long side. If you're a baby boom, you probably know him more so as BB's long side, right? So, my dad inherited that business, and all he did was rename it, like rebrand it. That's it. Kept the same personnel, same recipes, everything. So it's literally, and she had that staple there for almost 6 years prior to my dad. So that place right there has been a black owned business for almost 100 years, right? And unfortunately, right now it's a Mexican cuisine restaurant, but we still own it, right? So
Exactly.
so that's the good thing in that. So I ultimately in 2002, my father passed away. My mother held it strong. She kept it going. My uncle took the business over. He kept it going. In 2010, we were forced to close. There was the bridge closed on South Street. It killed traffic, and it was a low time in the in the area. There was like maybe 4 storefronts. Now the area is booming, right? But the business is not there. But while I had like the property and I was trying to reopen, like I didn't have any money. I came out of college in 2010.
You're
I was in,
college
huh?
kid trying to figure it out. That's all
Yeah,
you.
like nobody was trying to invest in a restaurant business for one, nor a black kid, nor a kid in general, right? So I'm asking people, hey, why don't you invest in the friends, family? They're like, somebody committed, then back out because like, nobody wanted to like. It was too risky, it was too. And I get that part now as an adult, but like the thing was is that my dad's business had name recognition,
Mm-hmm.
you know
Mm-hmm.
and so and to me, I've always had these aspirations to continue his business because it wasn't just about providing great barbecue cuisine to the community. My dad used his business to help push our culture, to help uplift his community and the people that he cared about and his family, and just really use it to like push initiatives. I just heard a story this weekend about a guy who went to Drexel, who was an African American who was struggling in school financially and like literally like was almost starving every day. And my dad, it ended up being my dad's frat brother, but he came to the restaurant one time and apparently like told my dad his story. My dad said like, listen, son, come here whenever you want, free of charge. We never charge you a dime whenever you come here and feed yourself. And he told this story to my cousin who lives in Virginia, right? An anesthesiologist. And like apparently he was like about to cry telling this story because of the impact my dad had on him with his business, right? Like my dad wasn't never seemed like a wealthy man because literally he gave all his wealth away to the people around him, the family and his family. And like that's something I've always aspired to do. And I feel like that's what motivated him to continue on and push through all those hurdles. Like, you know, I remember like so I wasn't getting any funding. And I started a t-shirt drive. I was able to raise $1,000, and it wasn't to raise money, but to raise awareness of my aspirations to
Right.
reopen the business. Right.
Right.
That,
Right.
that was the main goal. And unfortunately, people said talked a lot, but there was no follow through. So then I was like, you know what? Then I'll try to build it. So I was going to try to rebuild it myself. So I started finding people to help me fix up the place, but that didn't follow through. And then, then I was like, you know what? Maybe I just need to focus on building my credit and giving back a different way. Right.
Mm.
Establishment. So I was like, you know what? Let me like get a stable job. I tried to be like an entrepreneur and like, nickel and dime, and it just really destroyed my credit.
So let
So
me
I was like, let me get back into the workforce.
let me stop you right there, only because you mentioned so many great points, and I want to make sure that our audience is catching this. First you talked about 1984, Ron's Ribs began, but it started before your father. We talk about generational wealth, right? I talk about it all the time. And wealth, guys, wealth is not for you. Wealth is for your children, your grandchildren, and your great grandchildren. You will never know if you were wealthy because you will be gone before you have the opportunity to see the fruits of your labor when we're talking wealth. You may have riches, but in order for your riches to turn into wealth, you have to think you have to think deeper. Think like Ron did, think the way Brandon is continuing to think. Listen to what he said. He said that his father never seemed like a wealthy man because he gave away his wealth. He shared what he had, the blessings that he had with others. And because of that, he actually became more blessed, right? And his family became more blessed. And then secondly, let's talk about commitment, right? Brandon didn't say I gave up when, investors backed out. He didn't say I gave up because nobody wanted to, believe in this kid's dream to continue his father's legacy. He didn't say I gave up when I tried to build back and I couldn't build back. He said, let me pivot. Let me build my own personal credit. Let me invest more in myself because I'm trying to get investments from others, but maybe it was a risk. And why was it a risk? It was a risk because maybe they didn't see Brandon investing enough so that they could invest. So he stopped, looked in the mirror and said, what is it that I can do better to accomplish my dream so that way I can count on other people? So keep that in mind. Go ahead, Brandon. That was great stuff.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly right. So then, I thought about like where would my expertise be best serviced, right? And I come from a family of public servants, right? Meaning like we all take professions that give back. My mom always said like be contribute to society, put out what you want to receive in a sense, right? So I was like, what's the best? Well, how many teachers are African American males that you know? And then like, and then it just made me, and then like it made me think about this project I had. I was on this project. I worked for an IT company throughout college and a year after college before I got laid off to start my business. But while I was there, I had to install surveillance systems in all the Philadelphia school districts, right? 19 different schools. And like while I was in there, I noticed that like the grades on the board were not like A's, they weren't even B's, they were like C's and D's. And like this is what we celebrate? Like that standard? Like no, like what is going on? And then and then it made it clear because like I have a lot of teachers in my family too. So why don't I just pursue teaching for a little bit? Why don't I give back in that direction? It's stable. I have all these breaks. I'm done at 3:30, so then I can still do entrepreneurial things if I need to. 4 hours of the day or whatever. And then like just the reward of just giving back. Yeah. Being what I wanted, being what I needed growing up to others. Because my dad passed away when I was in my freshman year of high school. So it was like that felt like my calling. So I actually pursued that. I ended up applying for this fellowship program, and I got selected. And I ended up getting my master's degree, free of charge at one of the best like teaching schools in the nation, the College of New Jersey. So it's crazy how things work out. And I actually I got a stipend for it, and I was going to use that stipend, to support my entrepreneurial endeavors. Yeah. But it worked out, and here I am 5 years later teaching, and I fixed my credit. Now I can take the equity out of the properties my dad left me, and I can use that to reinvest in the business and whatnot. And now I'm just trying to like do that, and I'm really focused now. And what I'm trying to do now is take my dad's legacy business by bottling it, by making the sauce, right? His taste. I'm trying to take the sauce, put it in, try to get it in as many places as I can, turn that into a stream of income. I'm doing a drop ship clothing line, and just trying to create a couple streams to support my nonprofit endeavors, which is really to create spaces where I can even teach outside of the classroom, because I feel like, I want to help, that's been ingrained in me, on both sides of my family. But like giving somebody doesn't necessarily help them. Giving something to someone doesn't necessarily help them.
So true.
Right?
So true.
Because if they don't know what to do with it, what are they going to do with it?
Exactly.
They may waste it, right? So it reminds me of the saying, give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime. So that's been my, my focus here. It's not necessarily make money so I can reinvest in the community, but let me reinvest in the people in the community and then help them make their own money. And that's why I am a teacher now. That's why I teach entrepreneurship. That's why I'm talking, having these conversations with you today, because I feel like there's a wealth of knowledge that's been passed down from generation. My dad was an entrepreneur, but his grandfather was an entrepreneur, and his story was even crazier, right? Came up from Virginia, him and his wife, and just started selling food out of the kitchen, and then from doing that, he was able to accumulate properties during the Depression. Mm-hmm. Before he passed away, he had 20 different properties, 14 kids. All his kids worked in his properties as beauticians or barbers, and then he also used those properties and then he had a couple of pool halls too, so that's though, and then how he did that, he passed that down to my father, and now I'm trying to pass, and he passed it down, and my father passed those lessons down to me, and I'm trying to pass those down to his next generation.
It's
So we
so
not
deep.
looting and doing all
It's
this
so
craziness, but
deep because Brandon, as you know, one of the things that I research, and for you viewers out there, I'm a accredited financial counselor, financial planner. Okay, and my expertise is economic equality and family and consumer economics. And one of the things that continually comes up in my studies and my research is it will take 228 years to close the wealth gap between Black and Brown Americans and white Americans. Biggest disparity is assets owned, land and property. Okay. It's because our ancestors were not afforded the opportunity to land and property the way other ancestors were. All right.
right,
And you
right,
can actually attribute 20% of America's wealth to a land grant that was given in the West Coast and Northwest Coast back in the early 1900s that Black people were not attributed to. But the reason I'm saying all this is because Brandon continues to talk about his grandfather who owned property and passed it down, his father who owned property and passed it down, Brandon who owns property and will pass it down. When you talk about wealth, guys, we have an opportunity to get and own property and pass it down. But what do you need to do first? Brandon said it. I had to get my credit together. So that way I can go ahead and take and utilize you can have the house. That's great. But if you're going to keep it and you can't afford to get a home equity loan or a line of credit to get the asset out of the house to maximize it, double it, or use it to grow the business, then what is it? What is it doing for you? Nothing.
yo,
You can't upkeep it. You can't, fix it up. You can't do anything creative with it, right? You can't build a business out of it. You just got this big old property and you can't do nothing with it. And then now you're stuck making a decision because you're not properly set up to yield this wealth that was given to you. You're stuck making a decision. Do I sell it or do I let it rot? So Brandon said, I'm not doing it. I'm not selling it and I'm not letting it rot. I'm going to get my ish together so that way I can maximize the assets that my father and my grandfather left to me. Great story, great lesson, Brandon.
facts, facts. That's like I said, entrepreneurial family, man. Like the mindset in my family is totally different. Like I've always felt like a weird kid because like just like the mentality was always like own your own stuff, period. And like no one's ever gonna pay you as much as you're worth. Do more than less, and like the world's gonna say no, but no one knows what you can do other than you. You know yourself best. No one's existed in your shoes, other than yourself. So how does anyone else know what you're capable of better than you? Than you know what you're capable of,
Yeah.
full of, you know? And it really took me a lot to figure that out, because like trust, I did not get a lot of support. A lot of people thought it was crazy. Like not crazy, but just like thought it was foolish. Like so many types of people. Oh, you should sell that. You can't do anything with it. Oh, hold on. And then some people will say, oh, hold on to it. And then, a lot of comparison to my father. And then, it's just not having the answers, but problem solving, man. Like my dad always said, like, where there's a will, there's a way,
Amen.
and you just got to figure it out and be patient and persevere. Yo, my dad was tough and I've watched him be tough. And I said, I told myself like, no, I'm not gonna. I will hate myself if I have to. If I'm on my deathbed and I let that stuff go, man. Like I did not want to be remembered as a dude who lost, his father, who messed up his dad's legacy. Like, no, that wasn't gonna be me.
Right.
And
You
that
had
being said,
a why. You had a huge why. And so what I would say to the viewers out there is dig deep right inside of yourself and figure out what is your why. If you're watching this, it's a high probability you're watching it because you are a business owner or entrepreneur or an aspiring business owner entrepreneur. And you may be having great success right now and you may have fought through your own barriers. And so, in the comment section, if you have fought through a barrier, feel free to share that with the world, with us. What barrier did you fight through and how did you get through it? Comment that right now and let us know because it's so important that those who are at the novice phase of this understand, Brandon, we're a part of the great Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. And before we decided to start our journey and trying to become a part of organization, one of the best advice that was given to us is why.
The
Why
why.
signal? And so, I took that. And now for all those interested in being a part of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, I asked them why. And sometimes I have to say, come up with a different one. That why not good enough. You ain't going to make it through. And so I'm going to tell all you aspiring business owners, check your why. And if your why ain't big enough, figure out where your why is going to come from. Because if it ain't big enough, you're not going to make it through. Brandon's why was there's no way I can have that blood on my hands. There's no way I'm the guy that's going to mess up the legacy and wealth that was left to me from generations before me. Not happening, won't do it. I'm going to pass it on. And here's another trick for you guys when we talk about wealth, right? The way it's supposed to go is you're supposed to leave 2 times more wealth than your parents left for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it was done in other races. Okay.
Other cultures.
I had to work for it, so he's going to have to work for it. No. They're going to work for it because they're going to double what you work for. And that's how you teach them. That's how you parent them. You leave them a legacy. You leave them a head start. You leave them a foundation, and you tell them you failed unless you doubled it.
Fair.
Hey, any closing motivation or remarks you have for those viewers watching, Brandon?
Yeah, like honestly, your biggest attribute as an entrepreneur is your mindset. The mindset. Like people don't realize like your mindset is everything. You feel me? Like you gotta believe in yourself in order for others to believe you. You gotta put out in the universe what you want to receive. And you gotta keep your mindset strong and focused. Human beings are capable of so much we don't even realize how extraordinary you are, but you gotta tap into it through your mindset. Your mindset, y'all.
Very deep. Thank you, Brandon. Listen, guys, we're gonna head out of here, but with everything that's going on, you already know what's coming. Keep your head up, believe in yourself, and remember you too, Brandon, are only one opportunity away from accomplishing your wildest dreams. We will see you guys on Connected Cooking.